Hey guys, Lancy here. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for joining me to look into what the government in the USA is going to introduce in the next couple of days as far as the stimulus check goes. Now, I have brought this up because this is actually making a huge difference to the markets, at least in the short term. In the long term, it could still cause a lot of issues for the Federal Reserve, the Reserve Bank of Australia and the Federal Reserve, because it could cause more inflation. But causing more inflation, especially when it comes to reserveless cards and collectible items, as we've known in 2020 and 2021, causes them to spike pretty aggressively up, especially if there's a lot of assistance and helicopter money provided to the general public. So we're going to have to find out what is inside this $1.7 trillion bill, and if it's going to flow into the general economy, which it always does, where is the money going to go, and what's the Federal Reserve Bank going to do about it? So first things first, $45 billion to the Ukraine. So this is from CNN Politics. Some amount for emergency disaster assistance, $38 billion. Overhaul of the electoral vote, something about the US Capitol. They don't even say how much they're going to assign for that, so good luck with figuring that out. By the end of this, we're going to realize there's a lot of money that's not accounted for. Funding for attorneys for the January 6th stuff, $2.6 billion. $11.3 billion for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. God, it'll be good to work for those guys. Probably set for the next couple of years. Medicare and Medicare. So does it say the total amount for them specifically? Not really. Pell Grant, I don't know what that is. Veterans, okay, sure. Nutritional assistance, maybe do something about McDonald's and you might not need that. More money for childcare. So, yeah, taxpayer money going straight into people that shouldn't be able to afford having kids in the first place. $8 to $12 billion at 8.6% boost. Damn, that's actually keeping up with inflation. Utility bill assistance, $5 billion. Retirement savings. Do people that are retiring need help? I don't know. They usually got a pretty good hand, I think. More support for the environment. 10 billion, sure. Yeah, okay. 3.6 for affordable housing. That seems on the small end. What's not on the bill? TikTok. Okay, well, I didn't realize that was going to come from $1.7 trillion bill. I thought that was a better way to introduce that. What's not on the bill? Enhanced child tax credit and new cannabis banking. Okay. So that was completely pointless. $1.7 trillion, and I think the largest number I saw here was a $45 billion funding for Ukraine. So there's a lot of money on the table somewhere, and it's going someplace, somewhere, probably pretty damn fast. Mostly to the markets, because the markets are just assuming that this is now going to pass. If it's going to pass, it's going to cause a lot of issues for inflation. We already know that. That's expected because everyone's paying attention to these introductions very carefully. The interest rates are one thing, but the rich can buy a lot of these things outright. And when you print or borrow from the future, which is what the government normally does with debt, it causes a lot of issues. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, we are hitting some resistances still. One of the ones I like to look at is silver. Another one is gold, but gold is not as clear because gold is still pretty far from the previous top. It is over its 200-day moving average, but it's also very, very overbought. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on that. The dollar obviously is getting crushed by this because this is literally just diluting the value of the dollar by bringing more of it into existence from the future to now. Tesla's gotten pretty crushed, even though it was meant to be sold. It was already oversold, but more oversold is fine. Now Hasbro, we talked about this yesterday. It's still pretty weak as far as what is actually happening to it. It is now below its previous day average, which is really bad sign for Hasbro. If it manages to bounce from here, then that's a separate issue. But if it starts going down from this point, there's no chance for it to come back. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Obviously, the bottom is not confirmed until after the fact, but this is looking very bad for Hasbro in the long term. And what happens in Hasbro usually happens to the rest of the cards in Magic. It kind of takes over for Magic the Gathering. We saw a massive drop off in MTG stocks and then a big bump up, but MTG stocks move, Hasbro stocks move much faster than Magic cards, reserve list cards. Even though reserve list cards can move pretty fast, it's just that the stock market is pretty much instantaneous. And you're going to see these kinds of movements happen very, very quickly. So it'll be very interesting to see. I think another one to keep an eye on is what's going to happen to crypto. Personally, I think crypto is starting to get to a point where it probably doesn't have much downside. Like we're talking about dropping down from $70,000 to $16,000 is a massive drop. And if it goes from $16,000 to, let's say, $12,000, that's not a massive drop. So I'm just saying that crypto might be able to find a bottom pretty soon. And depending on what else happens, like introductions of CBDCs and so on and so forth, there might be a big push once again from the crypto side to get away from the monetary policy that we currently have, which, I think a lot of crypto investors did try to do when they moved into collectibles and a lot of other things in the 2020 and 2021 boom. I think a lot of the Magic community might actually be slightly interested in crypto. Not 100% sure if that's true, but it certainly feels like that could be possible, especially for the age demographic and the people that normally get into trading and so on. So why or what are we going to do about this? I think it's a wait and see movement. The markets are reacting very positively. So if I go and check out the Australian ASX after this news was introduced, we can see that it had a very aggressive move. Look at this, almost an entire reversal of the previous day, where the Japanese bond market caused a lot of issues. And because of that, I actually think that there's some legs to this, because a lot of people are not expecting this to happen. The market should have taken all of this into account, but it really didn't. And I think this is going to cause a lot of short coverings, and we might get a very large bounce. Now, can I confirm that? No, not really. At least on the daily, everything looks pretty bad for the S&P. But $1.7 trillion is nothing to be sneezed at, especially when it's money borrowed from the future. For now, it's usually got a huge impact, and over the short term, it can bring the markets up pretty aggressively. So we're going to have to keep close eyes on this. Anyways, guys, I just want to bring that into notice because I know the last couple of times stimulus check was introduced, all hell broke loose as far as the market was concerned. And we're just going to have to keep an eye out and see if that's the same case, or if the markets are going to realize that the more stimulus we introduce, the more inflation we're going to have, which means the Federal Reserve is going to have to increase interest rates and do more QT. Anyways, thanks for watching. And if you guys have any comments, let me know. If you like these kinds of videos, let me know. It's just off the top of my head, but I think this is an important one to cover. See you guys next time.